to the left. Pellegrini inside. Pizarro golazo. Pizarro golazo. Here's the goal scorer, Morgan. And he's done it again. Lewis Morgan with a second of the match. Higuain will have the goal. He's framed the top 90. It's a sensational first goal for Gonzalo Higuain.
You excited as I am, buddy?
Pretty excited here, bud.
It's nice. It's going to be a good day. We're expanding into new frontiers today. The Inter Miami podcast is.
Inter Miami podcast may not just be the Inter Miami podcast anymore.
It could be so much more. Well, we will. I don't want to spoil this yet, so we'll get into that in due time. But welcome everyone back to the Inter Miami podcast. I am Jay Kington alongside, per usual, Mr. Alex Papa George. We are here recording on a Sunday in I'd say very good moods, honestly. But if you like podcast and you're not already listening to this, you can find it on any platform that's out there.
Which chances are, if you're listening to this,
you know where to listen.
You have an ideal podcast platform. But before we get into the show, wanted to give a huge thank you to Greatness of the Future. Wish I knew your name, dude or dudette, but we definitely appreciate the review on Apple Podcast. You're the reason why we do this. So glad we picked up a listener. Glad we have you for life. We'll hopefully not butcher that for you, but we'll keep it real. But really appreciate that. That's really what we ask for. Jay and myself do spend some good amount of time, and Than has been an amazing addition to the podcast thus far. And it goes a long way when we see those ratings.
It does. So thank you very much to the Greatness of the Future.
Keep in mind, your review's only going to get read if it's a positive review. You knuckleheads out there, there's some meanies out there, and you're not going to hear this.
Yeah, but we don't really. We always focus on the positive. So yeah, only the positive ones will get their shout outs. But why don't you tell them that little kind of intro teaser we dropped over here? What's going on?
Yeah, man, super excited to announce a new project that the IMPC production crew is putting on. It's going to be called Pink Smoke. Shit's going to be hot. It's going to be dropping on Tuesday this week. The podcast is coming to you on Monday. We put a little bit of a tease out there on social media today, but do go ahead and DM us on any one of our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, and let us know. If you're interested in signing up, we'll send you the link. It's as simple as one click, because keeping with the theme, we keep it real simple around here.
What kind of stuff's going to be in there, bud?
Super cool stuff, Jay. Next question, please. No, on the real, we're going to have some exclusive content, real talk like usual, discussion boards, and, you may see Jay's and I's face around a little bit more besides just our beautiful voices.
Yeah, I hope they think we have beautiful faces as well. We will, I guess we'll see.
Don't mean to scare you on that one.
But today, we are super pumped for part 2 of our annual supporters group series. Last week we had on The Siege. Who we having on this week, bud?
We're going to have ViceCity. ViceCity is going to swing by. Sebastin and Cesar, who you probably remember from our day winners of season 1. I think it was even episode 5.
No, 5. Yeah,
5. Yeah, I remember episode 5 on season 1. So excited to have them boys back to the show. But before we do introduce everybody to ViceCity, there's been some news to happen around the league, Jay.
There has been some news. We've been waiting on it for what feels like months, but it was finally released. The MLS is back, literally and figuratively as well. Training camp will start for the MLS and Inter Miami on February 22nd. I'm sure we'll have probably 4 preseason games again before the opening weekend kicks off. And so the MLS's opening weekend will be labeled MLS is back, and it's going to take place on the weekend of April 3rd and 4th. We're going to see 34 matches per team this season. So a regular full season schedule for the MLS for all 27 teams. Now, welcome to Matthew McConaughey FC, aka Austin FC, aka all right. I'm sure we'll have some fun with that one as the season goes on for sure. The regular season will end November 7th. And the Audi MLS playoffs are slated to begin November 19th with the MLS Cup on December 11th. We will have an all-star game this year as well. And during the regular season, all players, technical staff, and essential club staff will continue to be tested every other day, including the day before each match day. What excites you the most about this season, Alex?
Well, to even answer that question, first off, stoked to have this calendar put in front of us. This was a big step for all Inter Miami and MLS fans. Obviously, these dates are tentative of any crazy, COVID, outbreaks or CBA restrictions that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But to answer your question, Jay, besides getting to see our boys back on the pitch, I'm excited to see the evolution of Pizarro and Higuain this year. I think that this dynamic duo moving into 2021 could play a huge role in one of the most potent attacks across the league. So honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing their development on a chemistry and a tactical standpoint.
It will be exciting to watch. That's something that we all want to see develop. As far as me, what I'm most excited about, man, I'm excited for this kind of massive reset that we hit as an organization. I feel like we have the pieces in place that we actually want. We're going to have Beckham being much more involved. Can't wait to see Phil Neville's new system. I think it's going to be a really turnaround year for us. And, I know you talk about those big two, but, other big name players that we want to see continue to grow and really mesh as one cohesive unit. Blaise Matuidi, the postman himself, Lewis Morgan. It's going to be really awesome to see this team get to full potential.
And don't forget about our boy Mateus Pellemesi.
Yep, and Pellemesi, I'm not going to say like he had a bad season, but it certainly wasn't like a great season. He started to develop as the season went on, but he's got to step up a little bit more being our young DP. I think he will get there, especially in the right system, and that's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Definitely had an underproductive year, but I think that that's the expectation put on a DP player on the MLS level. He deems the title of our young designated player, and the reality is that's super important in the MLS, and that's a big piece of winning and constructing your team. So if he has a lackluster season, we may be seeing some changes on that front.
Yeah, it'd be completely different criticism if he wasn't a DP player. You're absolutely right. You see, like Will Trapp got, criticized a little bit last year, but definitely not anything to the level of Pellegrini. So, with that tag, with great power comes great responsibility, and we've given you power, and now you're responsible to net us some goals and pack on some assists and really just be a great team player. I think the next thing that everyone wants to keep their eyes out for is going to be the actual Inter Miami schedule to see, what weeks we're playing what teams. And then I would expect a little bit after that to get our preseason schedule and kind of get a feel for the teams we'll play preseason.
But before any of that can take place, the CBA and the MLS are going to have to come into agreement with new negotiations on the table. So quick highlight, Jay, there was some new news to come out on this, but if you're wondering what's going on with the CBA or what the heck I'm talking about, well, the CBA is really it's a collective bargaining agreement, really, which is a agreement between the owners and the Players Association. So the players create a group or committee that is basically acting as the voice of the players. So on January 5th, the MLS presented the Players Association with a proposal that committed to paying the players 100% of their salaries this year in 2021 in return for a 2-year extension on the MLS CBA. The MLSPA, which is a Players Association, provided a response to the league's proposal on January 23rd. So right now, the response has not been agreed on. There has been no agreement in place. What the most recent update is, on January 19th, both the PA and the MLS agreed that they would extend the contract negotiation talks for another week. So, keeping this really simple, we have some big time news to drop this week as this pod's coming out on a Monday. This is an important week for everyone because guess what? If they do not come to an agreement and they are still on opposite sides of the boardroom, this season will be delayed, which would be terrible. It would be horrible. Following a season after what we had last with COVID throwing its big ugly mug inside this whole puzzle, this would be terrible for the MLS to happen, and not just the MLS, but more importantly, all of us.
That sounds absolutely horrible considering last season, considering especially Inter Miami in their first season, as well as his fan base who's been waiting forever and ever. And then they finally get their football and it's a stop and go season. So please cross your fingers, say your prayers to whoever you pray to. We do not want this to happen. Would be hard pressed to believe that, reasonable, rational heads will prevail in these conversations.
I'd like to believe that. I think for a good sign of fans is that they did come out with this schedule, right? If they weren't confident that these talks were going to get executed and agreed on, I don't know if they'd come out with this schedule, pre the agreement. So I think that's a good sign, but obviously this is just hopefully. We don't know if that's a fact. And the deadline of this decision is really at midnight on February 4th. So if the CBA is not agreed upon, there will be a players lockout, which that is a scary word in sports.
Yeah, so this week will be fun.
Real fun. It could be real terrible or real fun.
It'd be a little nerve-wracking. Well, let's get into something that we know is going to be fun. We know is going to be exciting. We're talking about news from around the club as we continue to build out our roster after basically parting ways with 10 players from last season. So, I think the most recent big name was actually, I'm not going to steal your thunder. You go ahead, bud.
Thanks, bud. I'm a little partial to this one, but Mr. Federico Higuain, or as Jay calls him, the super spreader himself, is back on the club to rejoin Federico and his brother Gonzalo. So he is on our club for one more year, agreed to one more year on the club. So this would have been a puzzling decision if we were to not re-sign him here, not come to terms. I thought it was a little bit interesting that he didn't get any more playing time kind of towards the back end of last year. I think that probably had something to do with a late arrival on the club and kind of making that playoff push. And, not to mention a guy who is no longer here by the name of Diego Alonso. So I think that this year with our re-signing of Federico and the maturity that he brings and also the chemistry that he immediately gets injected into, some of our top-notch players, I think we're going to see him on the pitch a little bit more.
I do. And I think a big play of this is outside of, people, he's a good player. I mean, he's had a pretty solid MLS career, and you're right. People wanted to see more, Federico Higuain action, but this is also a play to make sure that Gonzalo's pretty satisfied because they've both been playing professional soccer for really the past 20 years and barely got to see each other, like only on the holidays and stuff. So the fact that they can continue to see each other basically anytime they want is solid. And this will give us one more year of the Higuain hermanos, one more season. Let's make it a big season. I'm sure they're both ecstatic to be playing together for one more year.
Amazing point, Jay, because I think you touched on something brilliantly, actually, right there. There is no chance that Federico was not involved at some capacity with the drawing of Higuain or Gonzalo, right? There's no question they're like, hey, come over here. We'll get a chance to bring your brother over here. Have La Familia down in South Florida. And there's no, in my eyes, there's not a chance that didn't come up in the negotiation.
I mean, it 100% did. Federico played a big role in Gonzalo coming to the MLS, right? And so then he comes to Inter Miami, and then what happens? Federico requests a transfer to Inter Miami almost immediately to Scubby with his brother. Now back at DC United where he was playing, right when Gonzalo signed, he was actually a player coach. So he's kind of doing both roles. Even after this 1 year deal, he might have another year in him after this, but I could still see him, even if he's not playing, getting into more of a coaching role because that's kind of what he was gearing himself towards at the end of his career. But hey, a great opportunity came up to play with my brother. We'd never get to see each other. We can live together in the same city. We can pass, communicable diseases back and forth. Just kidding. But I'm sure they're very happy. I want to see more of them on the pitch, though.
I agree. I think we will. And Jay, talk about some new names on the pitch here. We got a couple new signings from the academy, bud.
Yes, we did. We got two youngins from the academy. We're talking about Ian Fray. He plays on the back line, defensive player, center back. He's actually a Coconut Creek native, so I'm sure he's making mom and dad very proud. He had 9 appearances in which he racked up 23 clearances and 12 interceptions. And this was, he was an academy player, but he was playing for Fort Lauderdale CF. So, 9 appearances for Fort Lauderdale CF. He actually had the 4th highest passing accuracy among defenders in USL League One at 86.5%. He is a very calming demeanor. Teams, do need to level head when things get tough. I think he kind of has that level mentality about him. And he was recognized with USL All League second team honors as well. So, big things. This academy is starting to be bountiful, I'd say.
I thought it was appropriate timing.
Fair enough. And then the next one is Edison Azcona. He's a 17-year-old Dominican Republic native, and he notched 3 goals and 3 assists in 16 matches played. But more impressively, he attained an 82% passing percentage across all matches in the USL League One. I must specify 55.6% shooting accuracy for the season. He led the charge and won a team high 22 tackles. Edison was named to League One second team honors and was a finalist for League One Player of the Year. He was recently called up to the Dominican Republic senior team in January versus Puerto Rico, as well as a match against Serbia. So this makes the 3rd academy signing really in the last 30 days. I can't wait to see, It sounds great that we're able to get players already, but I want to see it, how they translate onto the first team level. This really looks like these decisions were made by Chris Henderson, who really wasted no time. He came in, he analyzed, he liked what he saw out of these 3, and the third one is Felipe Valencia. And he's starting to take hold and take the reins and kind of shape this little clay pot he's making.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a testament to Chris's style, really, as basically the CISO. He's basically going to pop in and analyze talent super quick, say, hey, are you ready to move up to the senior level or are you not? And make those decisions, see if they are talented and what type of potential they can tap into. And honestly, Jay, that's really why you bring Chris into this formula. You bring him in not just to bring top talent around from the league. Obviously, he's been around the MLS for quite some time, but he also has a keen eye for talent, and hats off to him.
He really does. I mean, both Ian and Edison were signed on homegrown player contracts. Now, there's kind of 2 ways, right? Like, I don't see these guys being in the starting lineup, but, they're going to spend time developing with the first team and, hopefully potentially get a crack at some playing time at some point in the season. And we hope that they can come through and really impress to solidify a spot.
Absolutely, man. Well, I know that there was one additional signing that actually just happened. I want to say, a day before recording this pod or so? 2 days?
Yeah, I think it was 2 days ago.
Might have broke on Friday.
Yeah, we're talking about Distin Castenheira,
who was nailed it, man.
I'm getting kind of good, bro. Right? Just wait. Yeah, like just wait till later in the show. I got it. But he was just brought up from Fort Lauderdale CF. So this deal is a 1-year deal with club options for 2022 and 2023. He's 25 years old. He is a goalkeeper, played for Columbia University, which is in the Ivy Leagues. He's wicked smart, and he was the Ivy League Player of the Year and first team All Ivy League as a senior. He was selected in the 2019 Super Draft by FC Dallas and then was traded to Atlanta United. He ended up playing for the Atlanta United 2 side, which is the USL Championship. So that middle layer in between Fort Lauderdale CF and Inter Miami is the USL Championship. He made 21 appearances for Atlanta United 2, and then he played with Fort Lauderdale CF last year, made 11 appearances, was ranked 5th in USL League One. He had 44 saves and earned Save of the Week honors on 3 separate occasions. So this guy has a lot of talent. Again, not going to be the starter, but he's going to join the goalie part of the roster behind John McCarthy and behind Drake Callender. So be interesting to see him develop as well.
Question for you, sir. With this signing, do you think that makes John McCarthy our day 1 starter in goal?
I think exactly. Yep.
I think so. I think that this is a commitment to what we saw last year. I think we were super impressed with John. I think that when Mr. Robles went out with that season-ending injury, he stepped in and really carried this team through the playoff push. So, obviously this was a testament to John, giving him a shot in the starting lineup and see what he can do.
Yeah, it was. And, again, that's 4 Fort Lauderdale CF players that we pulled up, and 3 of those have been, in the academy. So, big things. But I think this really secures John's spot. If they sign like a big name, I know there were some rumors coming over from Europe. If they signed one of those big names, then yeah, he'd be threatened. But I think he's pretty much the clear-cut day one starter. And then we did want to give some updates because we do care about the players that play for us, and when they are, their time is up and they move on, we still, wish them the best. And we do have a couple updates for a couple of our ex-players.
First one we're going to talk about is Alvis Powell. Most speculation across the league thought that he was going to go back to his old club, the Portland Timbers, but instead of signing with them, he actually moved over to the Sudan Premier League, which is called, I'm going to butcher this one, Jay, Al Hilal.
No, the club is called Al Hilal.
Oh, I was already excited to say Hilal. There's not too many times in your life that you can say that, so I had to rip it off. But but we thank you, Alvis. You saw him pop in the starting lineup. I think a couple times he had a few appearances to step in with, obviously yellow card allocation because we're foul like crazy people out there. But another loss to the team, and this is actually a loss to part of Jay's and I's heart right now. Mr. Jerome Kiesewetter is no longer on the club, and Jay and myself were a little bit bummed that we did not get to see him more on the pitch. Thought that he could have at least helped out a little bit, but he is back, not on the club. I don't know where he's back from, but he will be signing with FC Tulsa, which is the USL, which is in the USL Championship League.
Yep. And yeah, he was a friend of the pod. We had him on. We love him to death. We hope he has a, bright future. And then, we did receive some questions actually after the super draft. Don't you just love it when you do something and you cover a subject, and then right when you publish it, news happens that kind of changes it all?
It's wild. And obviously with COVID, it seems like the news is changing every 10 minutes, but this was one of them. We got a lot of questions, as Jay said, about, hey, what about our third pick of the super draft? Joe Hafferty. He was the 2nd round pick, overall 37, but he is no longer on the club. He was traded to the Seattle Sounders shortly after the draft ended. He was traded to the Seattle Sounders for a 2nd round pick in the 2022 draft. Makes a little bit of sense though, because this is where Chris Henderson spent the last 13 years. So probably was a little bit of some backdoor conversation on how to get him over there, but he was not on the club. He was drafted, but he's no longer here.
Correct. So, obviously things get a little convoluted, but, a play by Chris Henderson, obviously. And then, right now that basically leaves us with, again, we signed 4 Fort Lauderdale CF players, 3 of those which were academy players. We have 2 super draft picks. That's Josh Penn and Imi Mabika. We signed Patrick Segrist. And then outside of that, the club re-signed Federico Higuian as well as Breck Shea. So starting to take place. You can't count Federico and Breck Shea really against we were kind of including them with the numbers. But if my math is correct here, we're at 25 right now. So maybe 26, but 4 to 5 more players to fill out here, and stay tuned because it's going to be happening soon. Obviously training camp's going to start 3 weeks. So it'll happen soon.
Yeah, don't worry, Jay. Nobody pays attention to the Remind Me podcast for quick math, so we're good over here, brother. Yeah. But Jay, I gotta ask: is that enough reinforcements coming this year to take our team to the next level?
I think we got the key pieces we need back, right? I think Federico Higuain can play, in numerous positions in the midfield. So I think that's good. Obviously, Breck Shea, someone that all the fans love. So reloading up with him. We have all of our top talent back, really. And then, the super draft picks, we'll see what happens. Really excited to see, Ime Mabika, because he's just huge and tall stature and everything. So I think he could really have some potential. But, we're with these last, 4 to 5 signings that we're going to be making here, we really need to get some pretty quality players to really, add to the arsenal, if you will.
Fair. And I think up till now, I think that really kind of what's still, listen, I'm not overly like super impressed. I'm not jumping over, gates and whatnot, super, grabbing for joy and whatnot. But I think that that's part of, the new regime coming in ownership or management. And I think that the direction of the club has stalled a little bit just because obviously, with Paul McDonough and, Diego Alonso kind of having their, architecture to the club and then kind of just revamping the whole thing, inviting Phil Neville and, Chris Henderson and then, David Beckham playing more of an active role. I think that it was an obvious offseason that was going to not show its big names, but that doesn't mean that a big name isn't coming. That doesn't mean that B, we're not going to be better than last year. So we'll see how the roster folds out though. We still got a couple places to fill. I'd say specifically on the back line and, potentially in the midfield and the attack segment. So we'll see.
Yeah. And actually it's 27 signees. So we have 3 openings right now.
Great.
Was able to do the slower maths in my head while you were, handling that. So thank you. Last bit of news is Toronto is in the race to sign 25-year-old Colombian striker Rafael Santos Borré. See, I'm going to get it rolling my R's.
That was good.
Who he currently plays for River Plate and previously played for Atletico Madrid. He is currently valued at $11 million by Transfer Market, and Toronto are looking to fill the DP spot that was vacated by Pablo Piatti. Why am I telling you this? Are we a Toronto FC podcast? No, we are not. But Inter Miami owns the player discovery rights for Santos Borré, and that means that we're going to get paid out here. Okay, we're either going to be given the opportunity to make an honest attempt to sign him ourselves, which looks pretty unlikely right now with our DP situation. But we could get $50K in general allocation money if he signs somewhere else in the MLS. So it doesn't even have to be Toronto. There are other teams interested in him. Now, the question here is, the fans are kind of half and half on Higuain, I feel like. Some love him, some hate him. He's obviously on the older side of everything. So I'm kind of curious in general, what are your thoughts on potentially giving up like an older player, like a Gonzalo to fill with this young 25-year-old who, just to put this in perspective, has been playing with River Plate since 2017, 69 appearances, 24 goals. I don't really think that's as prolific as like Gonzalo's past, but a lot of people think Gonzalo's, slow and old and want someone quicker.
I think that's going to come down to coaching style, to be honest. I think if we want to play a little bit faster and, I think that we could potentially go and seek out that opportunity. But I think right now where we are, I'm comfortable with Gonzalo Higuain on our team leading our attack. I think that this season is going to be a monster breakout year. I think he's way too talented, even after his prime, to put up numbers like he did last year. And I know a lot of the fans talk about, his speed or he may be overweight or stuff like that. I think that we're going to see a different Gonzalo this year. And I think he really kind of took to heart last year about A, how poorly he played, B, how poorly the team did, but really C, just kind of the disappointment that it seemed like across the entire MLS had of a substantial player like Higuain in the league, not playing up to his potential. So I think right now I'd actually like to see Gonzalo Higuain play a little bit through and, hopefully at the end of this year we're singing his praise.
All right. I sure hope so. And I know, again, many fans are. We'll just have to keep our eyes on Mr. Borré. I'm butchering it now. But, I'd probably be happier if we didn't sign him because I would just struggle with that name, I'm sure. But let's go ahead and move forward with the fun part of the show, the supporters group, the annual supporters group. We are back at it. We mentioned earlier in the show, we will be speaking with ViceCity. So stay tuned, listen up as we catch up with them ViceCity boys. Welcome back, everyone. We are always thrilled to continue our supporters group series. This week we have on the one, the only, the ViceCity boys themselves, well-known, quite a reputation around the team and also internationally. I mean, you guys have been shouted out on some television shows. I believe in Mexico is the last one I saw. But we have today Cesar Molero, who actually was with us last year, and then Sebastian Moraga. So welcome, guys. How are you guys doing?
What's up, guys? Doing all right, man. We're doing good on this side. How are you?
Doing well. Cannot complain. Just, kind of give the listeners a quick picture into, your role and the things you do for ViceCity.
Well, first off, man, thank you for having us on again. It was a blast last time, so it's good to have do this again with you guys. Basically, man, I'm Cesar. I've been with ViceCity since day one. I rose. We don't have necessarily like roles like that, bro. We're just at the service of the group. You know what I'm saying? We try to find anywhere that we're able to be of use. You know what I'm saying? Whenever there's like a need or something, you just try we try to put yourself in there. That's kind of like the culture that we try to have in ViceCity. Like everybody's hands on. Everybody's like pushing forward to like whatever the best, whatever's in best for ViceCity is really what your role is. I mean, I like to do a lot of the public speaking. I do the podcast. A lot of people hear me. When you come to events, I'm usually the first person you meet. I try to see what your strengths are. Where we could better be utilized. If you're an artist, if you like to paint flags, I'll introduce you to the flag people. If you're a musician and you play drums, introduce you to the band people. So I'm usually the point of contact. For the newcomers, I enjoy that. I like, connecting people. That's always been something that I've always enjoyed, in my personal life, connecting people. So when I'm able to do it for, my real passion, ViceCity, it's really a thrill. It's really cool sometimes, seeing people that, they come in and, they're timid at first because they really don't know anybody. And then, they just, boom, they break the ice, just by, a contact, they meet someone and then there's, that. There's always 7 degrees of separation, and somehow, some way, everybody knows each other. Mm-hmm. So it's always cool seeing that develop. I like that aspect. Seba does a lot of he does the designs and stuff. He'll tell you more.
Yeah, I kind of help out more with the designs, the image of ViceCity, a lot of our communications as well. Like Cesar says, we've been on several podcasts, interviews, magazines, things like that. At the end of the day, it's not about one person trying to get their name out. It's about the name of the ultimate name of the group. ViceCity 1896 and Into Miami. That's what we want to promote.
Definitely. I mean, you guys said many podcasts, but I got to ask you, who's your favorite podcast?
Into Miami podcast. Obviously.
There we go.
Damn good answer.
Phenomenal
right
answer. Phenomenal.
Joe Rogan.
Hey,
Joe Rogan. All right. Hey, I'll take that comparison all day.
Well, Cesar, you're talking about, man, where it's kind of you got a new person who's interested in joining up with Vice, probably goes out to one of these events. When do you see kind of that breakdown of kind of that timidness and really kind of, join La Familia and really, bounce around and have a good time? When does that happen?
I mean, now with the whole COVID thing, it's kind of difficult, getting people out, mm-hmm. Understandably, obviously, being responsible and all. But where you see the ice being broken really is, I tell people just to keep coming, man. Just come to an event, come one time to a hangout, and then from that hangout, we'll probably go get pizza after, and then from the pizza, we're cracking jokes, and then from there, let's probably get a drink, and it's we're just friends. We're a family. We really are a family. You're and I wanna be involved. You gotta show up. And then from there, the relationships flourish. You can't be involved from behind your screen. And right now the COVID thing is we're trying to we're trying to adapt. But with ViceCity, it's a real put into practice thing. So I mean, you want to be involved. I tell people, I'm we're going into year 2. And year 1, we're really, really pushing memberships and join ViceCity and come be a part of ViceCity, and we want people to still join. But we've built in ViceCity is a real family. So now year 2, we gotta look out for the ViceCity family, and so what I tell people is if you wanna join any supporters group. This is what I tell them: join any supporters group. But if you wanna be invited to ViceCity things and you wanna come out to ViceCity events, I recommend you join ViceCity. And that's how you get the inclusion. Obviously come, check out what we're about, go check out what other supporters groups are about. But if you want to be involved in ViceCity and you want to be a part of what we're doing, community outreach, public relations, boosting up Inner Miami, being an asset to your community. If you want to be involved in all those things, be part of a dope crew, a really great group of people. If you want to be in something like that, Vice City might be the place, that you might want to step towards.
Yeah,
I wanna
put in
add,
the work,
Yeah. To add to what Cesar was saying is, I think the family, like you see people realizing it pretty much from day one, because like Cesar said, we put it into practice, not because we feel we have to, but it's just natural. Like the relationships come so organically because we welcome everyone that just shows up. Even on their first day, you already see someone cracking jokes on someone, like if they've been there their whole life, It's just, we try to make everyone comfortable, which eventually equals family.
Yeah, well, in all reality, man, that's the only experience Jay and myself have had with Vice City thus
I was
far.
literally about to say that.
Where
was that place we went down there? The soccer place in was that Jerome?
Champions. Yeah, I know that.
Champions.
Yeah, right on there. We saw you guys shoot, like, gosh, I don't even know how long ago that was, probably like 16 months ago. And I mean, it was nothing but family, from that point. You guys welcomed us in. Chris couldn't be on the podcast today. Everybody might remember him from season 1, but, he sat us down, gave us a couple beers, and just really kind of explained, the history of Vice City and what you guys were looking to build. So it's been nothing but, open arms for us.
Yeah, no, it was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was clicked up, beating on the drums, and I think Caesar was probably one of the first people to come up to us, and threw a beer in our hand, and we just started conversing. It was a blast, and what I want the listeners to understand is, they're talking about family. Like, yeah, obviously the supporters group's a family, but this is a supporters group that supports their own families. I mean, like there were kids running around playing soccer. It was a whole family event. You had generations there all supporting this club in Vice City as an organization. And it was truly beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And we also, to add on to what you're saying now, is we also try to support ourselves, as in like we have, I don't know, hundreds of paying members. And now we also have to take it to the extent of like, hey, someone needs a mechanic. Oh, we're just going to reach out to our Vice City network and give the work there, because at the end of the day, you want your people to win, to gain from itself,
Yeah. You guys got a tax guy?
Say it again.
So you guys got a tax guy? It's about to be a filing season coming up here.
We have tax guys, we have lawyers, we have anything you guys need.
All right.
Yeah, if I know Jay, he'll be needing that lawyer pretty soon too.
they got all the items necessary to launder this money. All right, good. Well, obviously,
I got a guy, bro. I got a guy to buy you some shares on GameStop, bro.
Hey, man, it's been halted everywhere, so you got the inside access there. Obviously, last year was a curveball to all the fans, the organization, all the players. Doesn't matter if you're a supporters group or if you're just someone who lives in, I don't know, Wisconsin and is down with Inter Miami. Massive curveballs, but it was definitely intensified for the supporters groups and the team itself. What was it like trying to navigate this first year where we're about to kick off our first home game against the Galaxy? The whole city's rowdy. The mayor came out and doubled down and said, we're not closing the city. We all think the game's going on. And then 48 hours prior, game is pulled. And then we wait for several months until the MLS is back. And then even after that, 5 weeks until we resume the regular season? I mean, what was it like trying to deal with just the choppiness of this season and keeping everyone's, morale up, but also trying to function and continue to grow?
I mean, like for anyone during this pandemic, it's been really tough. Like you said, the initial pain, when you are waiting, and we waited, I don't even know how long we waited, 2 years, 3 years. Some of us more, the people who've been here since the fusion have been waiting 20 years. And then from 2 days before the home opener to say that they're canceling or they're postponing the season, like I at this moment, I can't think of any like worse pain. But it was pretty. We had to face a lot of obstacles along the way, in regards to obviously not being able to meet up, not being able to continue with our regular programming in terms of just getting together and having a few drinks together, even a barbecue, and just getting that family together. Which is, aside from supporting Inter, it was just something that we did regularly. So to have to put up with that, and then it also halts your growth as a group. So it was definitely something that was very tough and extremely challenging to overcome.
And I guess let me kind of piggyback off that point. I mean, listen, COVID sucks. It's still going around. It's terrible. But What was there a benefit that came out of the situation? Like, was there one point that you were guys, hey, listen, we've banded together and we created X, or we feel like the brotherhood is stronger because we all went through this together, right? You want to talk about in parallel, in relationships, you either crashed and burned during COVID and you're probably soaring in the sky, right? So is there a positive spin that we can kind of take on COVID moving into year 2, or hopefully we can get some fans in the stands?
No, definitely. I mean, for the most part, I felt that the 2020 season came along like pretty fast for a lot of us, for the team specifically. So I think, what COVID really did, what COVID really gave us was an opportunity that a lot of MLS teams have had before. Like LAFC, they had the Chivas USA, and Cincinnati, they had the USL team. Nashville had a USL team. So a lot of these places that had their expansion teams come out, they already had, like a team to support, and then the team became an MLS team. In Miami, we didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? We're starting from like scratch. You know what I'm saying? So what this COVID season really gave us some chance, and there was a few games that we were able to go to, was really to work out the kinks, see what worked, what didn't work, you know what I'm saying? What looks good, what doesn't look good, who needs to be where, you know what I'm saying? So those couple of games that we were able to actually go to the stands and actually put everything into practice was a real. I mean, we were supporting Miami United, like, the lower division team before, but it was nothing compared to what was, what we had to do on game day. You know what I'm saying? It was game day operations and getting everybody, together, and like seeing what, like I said before, seeing what worked, what didn't work. A lot of that. I'm grateful. I hate to say it like that, but I'm grateful for the I guess the slow start that we had. I would say, I'm grateful for that because it really did give us an opportunity to better ourselves. And what's happening now is like a lot of people are. We're excited for the year that's coming. We're expecting to be in the stands. Some of us. So we're just eager to get into it. Because we already know what's at stake. We already know what needs to be done. I'm saying we actually were able to put into practice. I'm saying we didn't have to have that pressure that we had to look. We had to be 100%. We didn't have to have the pressure of filling the stands. But now things are opening up. And they're allowing us back in. If they do allow us back into the stadium, we just want to go at 110%. Whatever you saw last year, we're doubling it. We're doubling it.
I'm kind of curious. So, whatever happened to the home opener tifo? Are you guys holding on to that, or was that scrapped altogether?
Oh, we're not gonna talk about the tifo, man.
Yeah, you're gonna have to talk to a lawyer about that one.
All right. Okay. That gives me the answer I need. All right.
That's a good question. That's a good question, guys. I like that one.
So,
you guys
what did you learn from the first season that you can implement into the second season to be more effective or have a slightly better approach? What were some of your takeaways from what you guys experienced in your first quote unquote season together, right? That inaugural season.
Honestly, for me, one of the things that stood out the most is the interest that there actually is in Miami for soccer and for Inter Miami. Mm-hmm. Initially, when we were putting in our efforts to help grow the group, to just gain more members, there would come every now and then you'd be like, that you would kind of step back and think, hey, maybe the city, there's not as much passion for soccer as you would expect. But then I remember the first time we went to the stadium in the stands, it was like, even with the stadium not completely open, it was like, wow, there's all these people here that came out here to watch Inter play, So that's one of the bigger things that I learned was that Inter Miami actually has a footprint in the city, and there's a lot of people looking forward to see them play every weekend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You talk about your members. I mean, you guys are worldwide right now. How many members are you guys up to? Where outside of South Florida would you say is the biggest population of ViceCity?
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
Which area outside of South Florida would you say has the biggest population of ViceCity members?
Honestly, we get messages on the daily from South America, from Argentina, from Chile, Colombia, every day. Hey, you guys are awesome. We follow you all the time. Like,
You finding pages like using our designs and stuff for like there's like across the country like in other countries like I don't even know why why are you using our designs, bro? Like,
but for actual members, definitely, like, we actually have huge followings in Latin America just because of our style. You know, it was easily relatable for people in South America once they saw us. And you would be surprised, like you said at the beginning of the show, ESPN Deportes has shouted us out in South America several times, along with like different soccer players and things like that. So that's, I would say, South America probably.
Yeah, I mean, dope designs, by the way. I see ViceCity stuff all the time. Always well executed. Love the skeleton hands. The whole vibe of it is just very, very catchy and trendy for sure.
How many members would you guys say you're up to right now?
I mean, bro, like I haven't like gone over like the numbers, but like I want to say like we have like at least like 500 members right now.
Awesome. Fantastic, guys.
Wow.
But like going back to like what we were saying before, like what was like the takeaways from like the year and stuff. Honestly, bro, like what really like a strong takeaway from that, like you're saying, like building the brotherhood. Yeah, but you really see like during like situations like this, like you really see like who's sticking around, who's with it, you know. A lot of people weren't really, super excited with like, the team's performance this year, you know what I'm saying? And so like it's important to like solidify your core, you know. That was a huge also a takeaway for us also. And also, man, like a lot of people just like they had that they saw what we were doing out there and they wanted to be a part of it, you know. And since there's like such limited time, there's people that weren't able to like make it out there. So we just had people like hitting us up like, yo, I need to be there for this year. I need to be there for this year. I need to, like, oh, I saw what you guys did and I couldn't believe it. I haven't seen that in 20 years. Oh, I haven't seen that since my home country. You know, like those are the people that were getting out there, you know, like you guys, like I mentioned it before, I think the last time you guys had me on, like I'm a Miami boy. I wasn't raised with this culture. Like I'm pushing, I learned the culture and I'm pushing the culture here in South Florida. And what I feel that like what we become moving into year 2 is we've become the standard of what it is to be a football fan or a football supporter in South Florida, at least. Or not, maybe in the MLS, you know. Maybe it'll give us a couple more years and we'll definitely still solidify in the MLS. But for sure in Florida, if you want to be a football fan, if whatever club you support, you got to look at ViceCity. Like ViceCity is the standard. Like if you want to you really want to consider yourself top notch, you got to we are the standard. And I don't want to sound arrogant about it, but it is what it is. We've worked hard for what we built. This is 2021. This is the time that we're flaunting it. We're showing the world who we really are and what we're about. We've taken a long time to do what we've done. It did not come easy. It might look easy. It might look great. It looks fun, but this is hard work, guys. This is a whole nother full-time job for a lot of us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and one of the things that really was apparent when we, the first time.
I'm trying to interrupt you. It's like a full-time job and nobody's getting paid. Nobody gets paid from this.
Exactly, right? It's more about the purpose and the culture than anything else. But one of the glaring things to us, and I mean, we've obviously ran into each other multiple times and always say hi when we see each other out. But, that first meeting where we really got to meet everyone for the first time, everyone seemed to have, this love for the sport, but more importantly, had ties or had grown up in another Latin American country where they grew up in an environment where it was all about, the team, and that was your ride or die team. And a lot of people were very happy that now, living in Miami, which it's mind blowing that it took this long to get, a professional MLS team down here just because of how many people grew up loving soccer. But now they're stateside and they have something that they can relate to when they were a child. These people might have been, Chris, I'm not going to date him like he's super old, but, has children and he grew up, loving this. And now he gets to pass that on to his kids. It's finally here. And that seems like a love affair that is just so pure and hard to break. And it brings a lot of people in your organization joy to even talk about it, because this isn't about, going there just to drink some beers and pop some smoke. All that stuff's great. Don't get me wrong. But this is about something bigger, right? You guys are building a supporters group, and you're building a culture of what you guys believe it can be from your previous experiences. And even Cesar, like you're fairly new to this culture, but you have fully immersed yourself in it. And it's something special. And I think for any listeners that might have grown up in another country, that grew up loving their local team and were ride or die and have moved here, I mean, I can't think of a better organization than ViceCity, especially for that kind of demographic,
I mean, one thing that I've seen that is really amazing is everybody's bought in it. And what I mean by everybody is we have members, but their families are also extended members. Everybody is bought in. Abuelos bought in, tias bought in, your mom is bought in. Everybody gets it. They might not get why are you supporting a team? But they see you're hanging out, they see we're doing barbecues, you're rocking the colors. Everybody gets it. This is a movement. This is a thing, So I think that's what's really cool about ViceCity. And me, like I mentioned, I didn't grow up with this culture, so we're really solidified and we're really puts a stamp of approval. Is when people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, this reminds me of my home country. Oh, I haven't seen this in years." When people tell me that, it's okay, we're doing it right, because that's the only way that I know, If they could tell me, "Oh, I missed it," I don't know what you missed because I didn't grow up with it, but I'm glad that we're able to replicate it here, So that's the only way that when people tell me that, that's how I know we're doing a good job because this reminds them of something, For me, this is the first time. And for a lot of people, you're taking me back to where I'm from. That's what I want to give to people. I want to give them an opportunity to be able to live that out. And for the Miami people that are listening to this, or the South Florida people that are listening to this, and no one necessarily born with that cultura, futbolística, those people guys, just hop on, man. I mean, I know there's a lot. I also grew up in the graffiti community and feeling a part of a subculture. There's a lot of subcultures in South Florida. If you've ever been part of a subculture or something like that, you know where we're coming from. So I mean, if you could just take that step of faith, that leap of faith, and just put on the pink, put on the black, come to a jam, come hang out with us. We got the homies playing on Tuesdays in Soccer Planet. We got some other homies on Saturdays and Fridays in Wynwood playing in Cathedral. If you could just take that leap of, that step of faith, come through an event, walk in the pink and the black, you're gonna feel right at home. It is what it is. Once one comes, your family. It is. That's what it's become.
So we're talking about some events. I mean, we gotta get people out to your events. I mean, you guys.
Well, I don't want to call it an event.
You're right. Social distance gathering of respective space with masks on.
There's a couple guys that they play. They play on Tuesdays at Soccer Planet. They got the fields open over there. We got some other guys that play on for league on Fridays and Saturdays. I go there and I support the homies in the off season. But yeah, man. I mean, if you're looking for something to do, my name is Cesar. My Instagram is RAS 3C_1896. You probably see me. ViceCity's always sharing my stuff. Cesar, just look for me. I'm there. Just reach out. Don't be scared. That's what I tell people. If you reach out, I'm not gonna tell you no. Just reach out.
You guys can be a little intimidating to an outsider, though.
Nah, I'm a teddy bear, bro.
But what are the initiatives looking like for next season? I mean, what are the goals? What's the vision?
Yeah, I don't know if I was going to say
no, I'm playing
initiation, the gang activity. All right.
And I mean, look, we got down with Overtown Optimists. They're a community outreach center out here in downtown Miami. We're whatever they want us to do, we're gonna get down with them, and we need to be an asset to the community. That's a huge part of us. Honestly, we wouldn't be who we are if it wasn't for the community that supports us. So we gotta always give back. So whenever Overtown Optimist needs us, we're there. Any initiatives? I mean, I'll tell you this: we had our first official meeting not that long ago. You know what I'm saying? So definitely we're pushing forward with everything. We're not looking to stop. Just like last year. You know what I'm saying? Until they close the doors in front of us, we're just gonna push on like we always have. That's just who we are. We just push forward. We don't know any other setting.
So we've talked a lot about Vice. You guys know, Sebastin, Cesar. We just said how to connect with them. All social medias. Go ahead and do your thing. Get connected with ViceCity. Let's talk a little bit about the team on the pitch. We got a few new faces, a few faces that have left us. I mean, what player are you guys most excited to see back on the field, ready to go in early April?
I'm pretty excited to single one out. I don't know. I'm excited to see all of them, mostly because we're going to be under a new coaching system. So it's going to be a different game. It's going to be a lot. I think now we're going to see a lot more possession, a lot more of the ball, which last year we played very defensively, trying to play on the counterattack, which wasn't really benefiting, obviously, due to the results. So I think we're pretty excited to see the team as a whole, as opposed to just one specific. But I guess if I had to pick one, I mean, how could you not be excited to see the Higuain brothers and even Pizarro and Matuidi,
Absolutely. Hey, and don't forget about our boy David Norman Jr. He's coming off an injury.
gonna shred the league this year.
Has he debuted yet?
No, but it's coming.
We've been saving him for 2021. They just took a mulligan on 2020.
It's all right. It's all right.
Honestly, look, I'm excited for one thing I've always said is David Beckham. If he really wants to make this a world class team, he needs to be involved in the day to day activities of the team.
Yeah, it doesn't help when you can't get into the country because COVID and everything.
But the fact that he's in here, and the other day I think he had an interview with the mayor of Miami, and he said I need to be more involved. That right there, it's something that I've been waiting to hear for a long time.
That's what we want. I mean, his face definitely attracts names. I mean, we've talked numerous times that we probably don't get Gonzalo, we don't get Blaze.
Yeah.
Without David Beckham's kind of stature and swagger, if you will. What's your thoughts on the front office changes, with Chris Henderson coming in and obviously, Phil Neville, going to be a completely different system, but, what are you guys' thoughts? Were those two specifically, Henderson and Neville, was that, something you were excited about and different, or just not sure, or outright angry?
I'm excited for it. I mean, let me see. Neville he's a quality coach. He took the English women to the World Cup final. I think we're going to see something good. I think we're going to see some good changes, not only in the players that are coming in, but the way we play. Like I said, I think we're going to see a lot more of the ball this year, and we're going to create the game. We're going to dictate the game as opposed to letting other teams dictate, and we're just kind of going to try to hold back. But I think those front office changes were a good thing. Honestly, I was never really, I hate to say it, but I wasn't too sold from the beginning. But I believe that they're taking a step in the right direction in regards to coaching and who they have selecting their players and all of that.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't really know these. I know Henderson created a legacy, over with the Sounders. Don't know too much about Neville, but I do know that Beckham for a long time is one of his people involved. So this is the beginning of I think this is the beginning of him getting his people involved. He knows who these people are. He's worked with Neville before, so this is the beginning of a new regime, I guess.
Yeah, it felt like the first regime was kind of rushed, right? Alonso wasn't the first choice. They had about 4 other names that they couldn't secure. So I feel like a lot of it was just kind of thrown together. Once they realized it's crunch time, we got to get someone here.
I think this is looking more like what the front office really wanted to have year one. I think this, I want to say this right here is probably year one really for the front office. They're getting the people that they want, they're familiar with. It's going to be the style that I think Beckham wants to bring to the club. So, like I said, man, if Beckham gets involved into the day-to-day, just poking his head into offices, standing outside in the field, making sure, holding everybody accountable. If he wants to really build that culture, because he's used that word culture a lot lately. If he really wants to build that culture, he needs to be there showing his face, and not just I'm here to an influencer. No, he needs to be there the boss,
Yeah, no, definitely.
I want to see Beckham get angry.
Yeah, no, I mean 100%. And you know, I want you guys to keep us updated on, you know, events that you have coming up. We can share them with all the listeners who do want to get out there and check you guys out and, you know, potentially be a new member of ViceCity. But again, you know, Cesar, Sebastin, thank you guys so much for coming on the show, catching up with us again. We really do appreciate it. We know the listeners will absolutely love it, and I'm sure we will see you much sooner than later.
No, thank you guys. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you guys. We're always a pleasure, man. We'll see you guys soon.
Absolutely, fellas. We look forward to it. Have a good one.
Stay safe, bro.
Boy,
There it is. There it is.
all right. Well, thanks. That was a good one, folks. We drop a folks after every single interview. Awesome to catch up with the boys.
Next week, we have another supporters group interview on the way. Don't go anywhere, but this is the end of our show. And, you know, with that, we must thank you. You heard it from ViceCity, #1 podcast in the land, baby.
Newsletter. Keep an eye out for Pink Smoke. How do they access it?
Just DM us and we'll send you the link immediately. It is called Pink Smoke. It is free right now up until at least the season starts. Who knows? Who knows?
All right. Well, you heard it there, man. Better get on that. But as always, we end every episode the same way. Vamos, Miami.
Vamos, Miami.